Let's begin the Board of Health meeting at 5:02 p.m. on Monday, August 8th, 2022. Chairperson LeBlanc is not in attendance today. In keeping with an act relative to extending certain state of emergency accommodations, this meeting will be conducted remotely over Zoom. Attendance by board members will be remote, and remote attendance shall count toward quorum. The meeting will be broadcast live and recorded on ECAT. To use Zoom, you will need to use the link on the agenda or download the Zoom application at zoom.us and create an account or use one of the call-in numbers listed on the agenda. You will need the webinar ID to join by phone only. While conducting meetings remotely, we will endeavor to keep meeting operations as close to our standard procedures as possible. However, use of this platform will necessitate some additional meeting protocols. Number one, while the board members and applicants will be on video and audio, public participants will join the webinar as attendee, meaning they are muted and with no video feed from them. During the public testimony portion of the meeting, members of the public can be recognized by using the raise hand function found under participants from Zoom, or make a request with the Q&A function. If you're joining only by phone, you can press *9 to raise your hand. And if an applicant wishes to display materials, please make the request of the chair and the email materials to board staff for sharing on screen. When starting testimony, please state your name and address for the record. 3, there is a markup function in Zoom which will allow you to call out specific areas of presentation materials. 4, as in any public meeting, indecent behavior will not be tolerated, and anyone who abuses use of the meeting platform will be terminated from the meeting. 5, business will be handled at the times indicated on the agenda. Business not concluded in the allotted time will be tabled to the end of the meeting to allow for timely logins and remote attendance. 6, board members are asked to announce themselves when making a motion and second so that it will be clear to the audience and minute takers who made motions. All votes will be made by roll call. When all business indicated on the agenda has been completed, the members will vote to adjourn the meeting, signaling the end of the meeting and the termination of the ECAT recording. All participants will be disconnected from the webinar at that time. Applicants will join the webinar as an attendee and promoted to panelist at their agenda item. Applicants will then be able to share their screens and present their materials. As much as possible, presentation materials should be provided beforehand and loaded in permit eyes so that materials can be included in the public record. Individual board, chairs, and staff may wish to keep screen sharing to their computer. Applicants are encouraged to speak with staff prior to the meeting on how materials will be presented. Okay, and first on our agenda today, we have a variance request for 24 Union Street to allow a wetland setback reduction and a water table separation reduction concurrently. A butter notification required.
It's George Collins representing that.
Oh, let me add George, let me promote you. Sorry.
Hello.
Hello.
Good evening. Good afternoon. Would you like me to run with this at this point? For the record, George Collins, Civil Engineering Group, 225 South Main Street, West Bridgewater, representing Thomas Butler for a variance at 24 Union Street. I can show you the plan if you'd like, but just basically, this is just one of those very small sites. It's got a intermittent stream that runs along the property line, making it impossible to get the leaching field outside of the 50-foot buffer zone. There's extremely high water table. Probably would make sense for me to share my screen.
Yes.
Let's see here, where are we here? Share screen. Which one is it? There it is. Share. Okay, here we go. So, it's at the corner of Union Street and Marshall Road. And just just for the record, this has been approved by conservation. It was at the meeting 2 weeks ago, so this is approved by conservation. So we have like a drainage ditch that runs behind all the houses that parallels Marshall Road. There's also wetland across the street.
George, on my end, I'm not seeing the plan.
Oh, you're not. Let's see. Let's see. New share. Share. Your screen sharing is paused. I don't know what that means. Okay, resume share, maybe?
That is right.
Do you see anything now?
It just says George Collins PE has started screen sharing.
I'm gonna stop sharing and try again.
Are you on dial-up?
No. Huh, I'm getting the same note here. It's saying your screen sharing is paused. I don't know what that means.
Let me see if I can get it through.
You pull it up through Permatize?
That's what I'm trying to do. Okay.
That's it.
Okay.
Kind of seeing it.
And can you guys see you probably can't see my cursor though, but if you could pan down just a smidge on that.
Yep.
So you have Marshall Road on the right side of the site, Union Street on the bottom, which is the south. You get a drainage ditch along off the property to the left. And then it's kind of hard to see, but there's a 50-foot buffer that runs. It basically, you can see the end of the paved driveway. The 50-foot buffer clips the end of the paved driveway and kind of goes up and down the street. So basically, make a long story short, again, it's very, the amount is about 2.5 feet the way we have it proposed now. With the water table separation reduction, it would be like 3.5 feet above the ground. If we did not get the water table separation reduction. So it's just a very tough site with very little property outside the 50. And I just felt that in this particular case, it warranted this request. We're not in a water protection district. This is a really big septic system with 2-compartment tank. And I feel like it'll work very, very well. And so basically we notified the abutters. And again, we have conservation approval. And at this point, we're requesting the water table separation reduction and the setback reduction to the wetland concurrently. It looks like the setback to the wetland is 26 feet. Yeah, it's 26 feet to the wetland. Yep. Just a difficult site.
And George, you did say that the abutters have been notified?
Yes, and the abutter notification and the proof of notification is posted on Permatize.
Wonderful. I don't have any other questions. Chris, do you have any questions?
No. Just shoehorning this system in, that's all you can do.
All right, then I will make a proposal to approve the variance for 24 Union Street to allow a wetland setback reduction and a water table separation reduction concurrently.
Second.
All those in favor, Zayas, yes.
Mills, yes.
Excellent.
I believe George, you're for 37 Gilmore as well.
Yes, should I try sharing my screen again? See what happens, I guess. Let's see here.
So next on our agenda is a variance request for 37 Gilmore Road to allow wetland setback reduction and a water table separation reduction concurrently.
Then I guess we can see if we can try to share my screen again. Okay, let's see what happens. Share. I'm getting the same error. Says your screen sharing is paused. So I don't know, I apologize, but I think you might, and it stinks because I have a nice color PDF too. So unfortunately, I don't know what to do here. Let's see, resume share. I don't know what's
So-
going on.
If you stop, I'll pull it up like I did on the other one.
Okay.
And where did it go? It's this one. There we go.
So this is similar, but even worse. Again, for the record, George Collins Civil Engineering Group, representing Mr. and Mrs. Kelly at 37 Gilmore Road. This particular site is just a complete bear. The only place that's out of the 50 is basically the driveway right at the front of the house and the house itself. So there's really no place to put the system outside of the 50. And again, similar to the last project, this has been approved by conservation. And just due to the horrific conditions, we were actually able, because we did the water table separation reduction, we were able to go gravity with the system. And again, very similar to the last project, just substantial elevation change. And this is not in a water protection district, so we felt like this was a good candidate to request the water table separation reduction and set back to the wetland concurrently.
I will concur that I was on the site. I was the witness for the health department on the perk test. And it really is a tight site. You can see all the bounds that they have to put in for conservation, all those black dots on the plan that shows where they're going to put in notifications where the wetland buffer line is. Correct, George?
Yeah, and with lowering this by a foot and eliminating the pump, this is still this is an $80,000 project. So it's just like outrageous. I mean, septic construction costs have gone up almost 50% in the last few years. It's just insane.
And these abutters have been notified as well?
Yes, yep, and the notification and proof of notification are posted on Permanize.
Excellent. I don't have any questions. Chris, do you have anything?
No, make a motion to approve.
Seconded. All those in favor, Zayas, yes.
Mills, yes.
Excellent.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Have a good summer. Bye-bye.
I'm gonna promote the next engineer onto the panel. There we go.
All right. Good evening, folks.
Hello there. How are you?
Good evening.
So the next item on our agenda is lot number 7 and number 8 on Goodspeed Lane And it's a variance request for the top of all system components, including the septic tank, distribution box, pump chamber, dosing chamber, and soil absorption system shall be installed no more than 36 inches below finished grade.
So Scott, do you want to give a little history of the
Sure.
project and the evolution, or would you like us to?
I can try, Kristen, and you can correct me when I mess it up. Scott Farrier from Holmgren Engineering, representing Patrick Kelly. Patrick owns one of the lots at the end of Goodspeed. There's two lots on the end of the cul-de-sac off to the right-hand side, lot 7 and 8, that ultimately go into shared septic system number 3 as part of the Goodspeed subdivision approval. So the subdivision, it's a long history, as you guys know, I'm sure. The subdivision was designed by Pilling Engineering. And then it was taken over by Borderland Engineering, who did most of the work for the developer. And then we've taken over 3 or 4 of the lots from that. So there's a few different hands involved. The situation that we're dealing with now, Mr. Kelly's looking to move in, and we're obviously looking for a certificate of compliance from you folks. The biggest issue we're having right now is the pump chamber that was designed under Pilling's plan, installed by the developer, and as built it by Borderland, ends up having almost 4 feet of cover, about, I don't know, 42 inches or so, say. So my clients, to tie into it and to receive their certificate of compliance from you folks, need to request a waiver. So it's a little bit different situation. It's designed and as built it by people other than my firm, but we're picking it up for our client on the individual lots. So that's the request. We just spoke to Mark and Kristen about it on Thursday. So they kind of did us a favor getting us on the agenda at the last hour just to speak to you folks about it. We have not notified abutters. We certainly intend to do that in time for your next meeting, but we at least wanted to make sure that we're not totally out of bounds in requesting this waiver, that it seems reasonable to you folks. So that's basically what we're looking for tonight.
So essentially the pump chamber, instead of being, a foot below finished grade, it's going to be 4 feet down.
Exactly.
Instead of being 3 feet as it was designed, it's about 3 feet 8 inches, 9 inches, which means they need the variance.
I'm sorry, Kristen, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Maybe this might be a stupid question. Do you guys automatically put risers on them, so at least the lid's at grade on stuff like that?
Yep, there's a manhole cover to grade, so it is to grade.
Oh, okay.
Inaccessible.
So does this 8 inches cause a challenge? Potentially?
I don't think so. It's Title V, when it was revised back a few revisions ago, went with this whole idea that there should not routinely be more than 36 inches of cover over most of the components. Kind of a philosophy that if you let a system breathe, it will perform better over time. In this particular scenario, there are multiple points along the road, literally, because this is a shared system that goes to a sewer manhole, down a road, into the pump chamber, and then travels a distance over to a field that is vented. If the whole thing were more than 3 feet under grade, we might have a little bit more concern and not be as open to this idea. In this particular case, I think the 8 inches in the scheme of the distance of this thing is not really going to affect whether or not this remains anaerobic.
And Scott, correct me, I believe the tank is an H20 loading tank.
Yes,
That's one of the criteria that the heavy duty tank to go over the 3 feet. So it is an H20 tank.
exactly. Thank you.
We also did quickly look at the situation at the end of last week to see whether or not we could just do something like shave the 8 inches off. But in doing that, we'd be directing flow from a catch basin onto the top of this, or bypassing the catch basin. It would create more of an issue as far as the potential for intrusion of water that's flowing down this kind of steep gradient driveway. So we're just looking, you guys can't vote the variance tonight because it actually, the abutters haven't been notified, but we are looking for kind of an affirmation that that is the way you would go, which will allow us to frame some other responses and steps that we can take to hopefully get the Kellys into their home.
I'm totally down with it.
Yep, I'm very comfortable as well pending a butter notification.
Thank you. All right, perfect. Thanks for work.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Scott.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Mark.
Thanks, Scott.
Good night, guys.
Night. Mark, the agenda you printed had been revised, so there is
Oh.
one more on here. It's 23 Linden Street, and I believe that is Driscoll, so I'm going to promote them to panelist.
And so the next item on the agenda is a variance request for 23 Linden Street, which is a local upgrade approval request to reduce the required 10-foot setback from the property line to proposed pump chambers to 4.5 feet. And also a local upgrade approval requested to reduce the required 20-foot setback from the crawl space wall to SAS to 10 feet. And a local upgrade approval is requested to allow one deep observation hole in the disposal area.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Hello.
Good evening.
Greg, do you want me to pull up the,
I can share it. Let me see if it's gonna work for me.
let's see if it works for you. If not, I'll pull it up. Because
No, it
this
works.
one's
Right
even
there.
tighter. These make George's look generous.
Yeah, there it is.
Okay.
Alrighty. So just real quick, I'll zoom in on a locus map here. We're on Linden Street.
Oh,
So towards the west end of Elm Street, right across up King Ave there, right near Oliver Street. So that's the part of town we're in, and it's a small lot. It's a challenging neighborhood if you've ever driven up there. There's some pretty high retaining walls and everything right along King Ave, and rocky material and all that stuff. It's a small lot too. So this is right here where we're asking for the reduction in setback to the tank, to the pump chamber. And then right here is the reduction to the crawl space. And right here actually too. And here actually everything's about 10 to 11 feet to the system as well. Actually it's to the system. The septic tank is fine. But we have a 9.3 feet to the property line on the pump chamber there and 5 feet to the pump chamber on the sideline here. So like I said, it's a really small, tight lot. And this is pretty much all we could fit in here. Tim is aware of this one. He was telling us that they were pumping it weekly, I think. Very often they were out there pumping this out, and there was reports of effluent running down the street. So we want to get that corrected. They have these two existing cesspools over here that are just not cutting it anymore. And I think Mark looked at the other local upgrades and was fine with them. So we needed to notify this
Kristen.
butter.
Yeah.
And Kristen as well.
Yeah.
And it's really just I think the last one we're looking for is the setback.
So just for the board's knowledge, whenever the setback is to the property line, they do have to notify abutters, and that means they come to you guys. This one, you can see it's actually very close on the sideline, which also is an extra protection, requires that there be a land surveyor's stamp on this plan, which there is. Again, it's a really tight situation. There has been sewage flowing down into the street over many years. They occasionally will get it under control, but this is really an upgrade I think the entire neighborhood will be very happy to see come to fruition.
Oh, any of these lots in the village area, I used to live downtown. You can't do anything without a variance. Like
Yeah, they're really tight lots.
we'd
It's
be
6 feet of
horrible.
frontage.
We'd be horrible people not to approve it. I mean, talk about, again, shoehorning something in, that there's nothing you can do. I feel for the people that have to deal with it, because it's just such a tight lot. I make a motion to approve.
Seconded. All those in favor, Zias, yes?
Mills, yes.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Should I stay on for the discussion on the condo projects, or is that gonna come a little bit later?
Why don't you go back? You can stop screen sharing, please.
Okay, yep. Sorry about
And then, I think I can put you back in the waiting room.
Okay.
Unless you want to just shut your camera off and stay where you are, it's up to you. Because our next item on the agenda is a discussion with the developer of 142 Lincoln Street. So I'm gonna promote Mark Perrin, but he's logged in twice, so we'll see which Mark Perrin shows up. Will the real Mark Perrin please appear? Mark, you're logged in, but you're muted. There we go.
It's gonna scan those.
Okay, he's raising his hand, but I don't know. What the problem is. Keeps jumping around. Mark, do you want to try? I'm going to try one more time. I've got you in another, I've got two of you in the waiting, well, one in the waiting room now and one in the participants. Do you want, I guess I can start trying to give a little bit of a background on. See if I can just.
Now I'm muted.
Okay, there you are.
Oh, you can hear me?
I
Yeah.
can hear you now.
I kept it. My son had to help me. Sorry. Thank you for allowing me on the agenda tonight, everybody. Little brief synopsis from my July 13th letter. This is going to be a single family dwelling on an undersized lot. It is at a zone 2 wellhead protection zone. So therefore I will be, per the design plan, will be treating the property with a microfast system, which I've supplied all that information, not only on the site plan, but also in a, I believe I submitted a nitrogen loading easement restrictions. And so basically what we're doing here is it's a 9,801 square foot lot. So based on the DEP's transmittal letter up, and revised through March 20, 2015, based on their calculations, we would need an additional 10,199 square feet, or equivalent of 20,000 square feet, in order to have a 3-bedroom new home, not a 4, it's a 3. I've identified in the same location, same well zone, zone 2, a piece which I have also uploaded on the property that we own across the street at 149 Lincoln Street, that we plan on using for credit land. And I went over that with Kristen. I believe, Kristen, what was that, Friday? I don't even remember anymore. Thursday or Friday.
It was Thursday or Friday. It's kind of a blur now.
But Chris, I was glad I brought the big set of plans in because it was easy to do. And that amount of square footage for the credit land has been identified in the same zone too. So I'm respectfully looking for the board to approve for us to move forward to obtaining a building permit, and that's what we're waiting on. This board being the last one, and there was a lot of pieces of puzzle that had to be put together in order to get to this point. And I'm hoping I've accommodated the board in order to just, I guess, correct me if I'm wrong, Kristen and Mark, just to authorize you guys to approve it as is, based on any conditions or anything else you guys may see forthright.
So basically what the board is voting is to accept a facility aggregation plan that would allow Mr. Perrin to take the two properties that he owns within the same area and use them to combine to facilitate the nitrogen loading limitations for him to be able to develop 142. There are legal drawings and things like that that we need to finalize, identifying the actual piece of land, the dimensions and boundaries and easements that will be associated with that land. But it's basically the idea of you guys accepting us moving forward and putting all the I's and T's together to make this project happen.
And so all of those plans have been evaluated and analyzed and everything is good to move forward?
We need to finalize a few pieces of them. The map works, the land is there, it's in the same aquifer protection district. It meets the definition that would be needed, but there are a few different moving pieces in it, and there would be a final drawing that we would need that basically calls out this chunk of land and attaches a deed restriction to that credit land property, that it can't be fertilized, it can't have animals on it. There's more paper that needs to come. But the land is there. It's in the same aquifer protection district. They do own it. So it's just whether or not you guys are comfortable accepting that they're going to, by definition, aggregate the nitrogen so that it's spread out differently than actually on one single 30,000 square foot lot, which is what would be needed for the bedroom house that they're proposing.
I don't have
I'm
any other.
completely comfortable going with whatever you guys think.
Seconded. So
I
is this an official motion that needs to be made for this?
Yes, I would say the motion would be to accept the facility aggregation plan for 142 Lincoln.
I will make a motion to support the facility aggregation plan for 142 Lincoln Street.
Second.
All those in favor, Zayas, yes.
Mills, yes.
Excellent.
Thank you very much. Kristen and Mark, real quick, I know you got a busy rest of the schedule. My next step is I just want you to click the approval button on, and I have submitted the grant of Title V nitrogen like we did at Meadowview, you know what I mean? So a lot of these things came in before you guys would even consider giving me a CO or anything like that. And it is that the plan, the recent revised plan does acknowledge that parcel that you just brought up, Chris. It is on a note on the plan.
Okay, let's just go over it tomorrow and we'll take it from there.
Okay, I'm just trying to get into the building department. I appreciate everybody's time and I appreciate your approval. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next on our agenda, we have Jenna Gaynor, body art practitioner.
I do not see her in the waiting room. I don't know if you want to move on and then come back if she doesn't hear, or Mark, do you have any comments?
I actually spoke with her this morning to remind her, because I was on vacation, and just advised her that the establishment fee hadn't been paid yet, just the body art practitioner fee had been paid. So I was advising her on that, and that I would have to do an inspection of the facility and to remind her that the meeting was at 5 o'clock this evening. So
There is a Zach Taylor who has their hand raised that's in attendance. Could that be them?
it could be.
Let me see. Yep, it is. Let me promote her to panelist then. Trying to get Mark Perrin off the screen.
Hi, sorry about that. Can you
No
guys-
worries.
Worries. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good.
Sorry, this isn't my laptop. I didn't even consider that it wouldn't have my name on the Zoom thing. Sorry.
It's just funny. Zach Taylor was my father's name.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so I've spoken with Jenna over the last few months. She's given us her course curriculum of what she's done. And she's got her CPR, her bloodborne pathogens. She's all up to date on all the stuff she needs to do. And I believe she's qualified to do the microblading that she wants to do as a body art practitioner. So I just wanted to have her here because our regulation states that the board is the one that has to approve each individual practitioner and, you know, go from there. So if Jenna, you'd like to speak with the board and introduce yourself and give yourself a little background, that'd be great.
Yes, my name's Jenna. I've been in the beauty industry for about 8 years now as a cosmetologist. In March of 2021, I went to Boston to get my first microblading cosmetic tattooing certification, and I've been licensed for about a year now in Dennisport on the Cape. The salon that I'm applying to work at is a family friend, and he was hoping to add a service on to his salon. So he reached out to me, and here I am, just hoping to expand a little bit off the Cape because it gets a little slow down here in the winter. So hoping to be able to bring some of that to Easton.
Great. As I would recommend is the approval of Jenna's license with the contingency that the establishment fee is paid and it's inspected before we issue the license.
Motion to approve upon inspection and fee paying.
Seconded. All those in favor, Zayas, yes?
Mills, yes.
Excellent. Thank you so
Right.
much, Jenna.
Thank you very much, guys. Have a great night.
You too.
Thank you.
Next on our agenda is 41 through 60 Indian Cove Way and 43 through 63 Village Street.
Hey everyone, so I'm back. Just wanted to get a spot on the agenda just to discuss these two condo projects. They are currently in failure and looking to get the design for their new systems approved. They would like to get them built hopefully this fall before the winter. We did get some feedback from Mark regarding the amounts. So the amount of over design we could do on the field. And particularly with the Indian Cove one, that system that's currently in there right now, it is breaking out and, well, it was breaking out. I believe they're pumping it to keep it under control, but that system is only like 15 years old and went in 2006. So what I'm trying to do as a designer, engineer, try to get some more longevity out of this type of system. And I know they're taking out a loan. I think they got like a 30-year loan to do the work for this property, for the system and some other work they're doing on the property. So I'm looking to oversize the system, trying to get some feedback from staff and the Board of Health on that. We just recently, today, after talking to our clients, submitted revised plans. And on the Indian Cove one, we're going to design it for garbage grinders. So it'll be 150% of the size of a typical system. We have notes on the plan that they're not recommended, and they have in their policies that they don't allow garbage grinders. And after, talking to the client, they said they're taking their loan out. The current system will last 15 years. They don't want to have another short-term failure of their system and have to, basically pay for another one to go in when the first one hasn't paid off yet. So that's my approach for that. Looking for some feedback on that. And
Greg, can you speak to whether or not there was evidence in any of your observations to support that there are garbage grinders in there, which we all know are very detrimental to septic systems?
Yep. On our inspections, looking in the tanks over at Indian Cove, we did see effluent that resembled the type of effluent you see with garbage grinders. But they have a new management company over there. They're the ones that hired us to do this, and they're trying to reduce them, get them out of there. But with these type of counter developments, it's hard to police and keep control of, even though they're trying. So, I mean, that could be a reason why they have this 15-year failure instead of a system that's lasted longer than that. And then on the Village Gate one, the plans that we just resubmitted today are for 116%, which is in line with what Mark told me on one that got approved recently. We talked to them. They didn't want to go for the bigger system. Their system is currently 23 or 24 years old. So that one is, the site materials must be better, or they better police their garbage grinders and what goes into their drains, because 24 years, 23 years is a lot better than 15. So they're not too concerned about having a short-term failure on theirs. So can we get, so now that I submitted the plans, I don't know what your schedule is like, Mark and Kristen, if you're able to maybe take a look at those, turn them around to me in a couple of weeks, and we can hopefully, we can address any comments you guys have. I'd just like to, they're ready to go. And we're also in front of Concom as well, which we've been continuing that meeting, because if we make changes based on any comments that would change anything in the buffer, then we don't have to go back to Concom for an amended order conditions if we need to change the field size or the grading or anything that's in the buffers.
So one question, I have a couple of questions and comments. One having to do with the garbage grinders, and the first, the most effective, well, other than ripping them out, the most effective piece of the septic system in addressing the garbage grinders should be the tanks. And we do see that you have sized those to accommodate and whatnot. The more time that we can have the fluids and solids retained, the better chances we have of those solids either floating or sinking and not making their way out into the field. One question I had is to, if we could take a look at the water meter readings and just see where we are. Your field is sized to accept a certain amount of liquid based on your perk rate.
Yep.
So, I mean, we've got a couple of different things going on here. I agree. I don't like 15-year, condos are difficult to begin with because of this.
Yeah. And you get turnover over time, and
yep.
Well, some people might get educated, then they can move out and somebody else moves in.
Exactly. So I'd like to see the water meter readings, just to be able to compare them to what the design is. Our concern, I think, has been expressed to you and, for the board, is if we allow this to be built on both planes, tanks and fields, big enough to accommodate more bedrooms, how do we make sure that the system, that doesn't come back up and bite us on the other side of it, with people coming in with building permits and saying, no, the septic system's big enough now, I want to add bedrooms. Do we need to think about doing, or do we know, are these already as part of the master deed restricted to 1-bedroom units? So that's something I haven't been able to, I asked Tim to take a look at the end of the week, but I know going through the Registry of Deeds website can be a little challenging if you don't know what you're looking for. So maybe that's another piece of information, Greg, that you might have an easier time tracking down.
Okay,
Is
so
whether or
see if
not,
there's a deed restriction on the bedrooms.
yeah, it might be in the actual master deed. Going back to the very, very beginning, it may not be actual deed restrictions on each individual unit, but if that information is there and we can have that assurance that, you know, this isn't opening up a new construction floodgate, I think that would address some of our concerns as well.
Okay.
Mark, agree?
Again, with
I agree.
with the
Go ahead, Greg.
again, with sizing it for garbage grinders, even if we put on the plans are strongly discouraged, and getting the condo management company to agree that they will keep that policy in place and try to keep them out, it's still based on the number of bedrooms that we're designing for.
Mhm.
So that right there, they're kind of locked in. And they should be. Sorry, Martin, go ahead.
I was just going to say with the one that's 116%, I definitely didn't have any issues with that because you're just over designing it a little. And then the Indian Cove one. My only question, and maybe Kristen could jump in on this one. If we always believe in repair for what's there is kind of what DEP's even said. So are we looking at this, Greg, as repair to what's there because you're saying that there's obviously garbage grinders there from what you saw in the tanks, and that's why you're going that route. Okay.
Yeah, and we did get into not every unit, but we did get into a bunch of them because we need to measure and all that stuff, and
yeah.
So
okay,
we know some people they add bedrooms or they use a loft space as a bedroom, even though it's not totally enclosed or anything. We know there's more people living there than would it be a typical one bedroom in a lot of cases.
Right.
So
that's all I have.
Are there any actions on this, or is this just discussion?
just discussion, I believe.
Excellent. Thank you.
All right, so yeah, we can take a look at, yeah, this week might be, we'll do our best, Greg, to take a look at them, but this week we are, we're doing 2 weeks back to back of one inspector and one inspector that.
Oh, okay, you guys got people out. Okay. I hear you.
I was out last week. Tim's out this week, so I'm playing catch up, and I'm still trying to get the day-to-day.
I would think by the beginning of next week, if you haven't heard from us, you'll hear from us.
Okay. All right, I'll put on my calendar to follow up. Appreciate it.
All right.
Your time.
All right.
And the
Thank
feedback.
you.
Thanks.
Thank you. All right, next on the agenda is a coronavirus update.
So, you know, it's still around. It's gonna be around. We have been floating right around for at least the past, I think, 6 weeks. That 2-week number that we look at has been 50. It hasn't gone below 50. It's been a little above 50. It's been 50. And that just seems to be where we are as a community with COVID. We're keeping our eye on things for the fall to see whether or not there is a different type of booster available for us, and what they decide to do for some of the people under 50 who have only been authorized to have the one booster vaccine. So we're not quite sure what the fall is going to look like. We're keeping our ears to the ground, and of course we'll respond to whatever comes up.
Sounds good. And then next on the agenda is arborvirus. Mark, anything there?
I checked today after I got back from vacation. It looks like the last number I saw, and Kristen, correct me if this is wrong, is 8 West Nile virus positive mosquitoes, not in Easton, but overall is what I saw, and no triple E at this time, mosquitoes.
So we continue to have our intern working on and promoting a survey that allows residents to I think it's only 10, it's either 10 or 11 questions, allows residents to voice some of their opinions, express what their knowledge level is on some of our existing tools and methods and practices. She has also developed we're at the children's races every week now. And she's there with the survey. Tim Myers has been there with her most weeks, and we're doing a kind of a sticker program, trying to get the kids involved and talking about some of the things that can be done. This is kind of a theme and a project that was kind of tying our intern with our green communities and promoting some methods and simple changes that people can make in their own lives and in their own yards that are not chemical based for the most part. Certain plants that are more likely to deter mosquitoes, practices like removing that standing water, repairing screens, keeping longer sleeves on, just trying to wrap around and use our young people to help maybe spur some of these actions with our parents. Also as an attempt to try to collect more responses in the survey. Her program with the Department of Public Health does end this week, so she'll be making her presentation on, I believe, Thursday. But I believe she's going to hang around and try to wrap up some more information and some more survey responses for us. And looking forward to actually taking a look at what people express as their concerns, where their knowledge level is. It'll help us frame some of our educational efforts going forward. So.
Wonderful. Next on the agenda, we have a betterment application for 80 Blackbrook Road.
I was not updated on this one. Were you, Kristen?
I was not. Do you want to quickly check and see if there's a
Yeah,
full?
let me look.
It was in the packet.
Yeah, Tim, this is Tim's wheelhouse and they didn't overlap. So I would assume if it made it to the packet, everything was in line. I don't have the packet open myself, so trying to save paper.
Yeah, the only no's were the estimates and if their system needs to be pumped more than 4 times a year.
The beautiful thing is Tim keeps a very neat desk, unlike mine. So it looks like the proposed betterment is for the proposed total of $45,000 for Blackbrook. It looks like all the boxes are checked off. So it looks like they're good to go. They're just looking for approval.
Great. I make a motion to approve the betterment for 80 Blackbrook Road.
Second.
All those in favor, Zeiss, yes.
Mills, yes.
Excellent. Any other staff or member notes?
Nothing coming to mind.
Excellent. Any questions from attendees? All right, then I make a motion to adjourn the Board of Health meeting for August 8th, 2022 at 5:55 p.m.
Second.
All those in favor, Zeiss, yes.
Mills, yes. You know what? We never approved minutes.
I don't think they're in there. They're not on the agenda.
Okay.
Because we have just
Secretary overlap and everything. Yep.
We've just gotten the new admin on board, so there's a little bit of a learning curve and a catch-up curve with getting those things together. So we'll get them, but you're correct, they're not there.
Hey, still under an hour and look at all that work.
Woo.
All right.
All right, thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Have a good
Bye
night.
now.